So the paper, the talk is about the specific kind of things that are artworks for us, and the way in which I address this question is by comparing the form of philosophical explanation, exploration into kinds of things, or ways of, modes of being, kinds of things. And my claim is that there's a standard, let's say, form of philosophical investigation into how to understand the possibility or the existence of a thing, namely by explaining it by reference to our ability to reproduce or produce that thing. For instance, I mean, the things that we call scientific theories we can understand by reference to the capacities or abilities we have in order to produce a theory. Or the thing that we call a moral judgment we can understand by explaining the capacities we have to make moral judgments. And my claim is that already since Socrates we know that artworks cannot be explained in this way. We cannot understand an artwork by deriving its actuality from the possibility that we understand as a subjective ability. So that's the starting point. And then my question is whether Socrates is right with this claim that artworks cannot be understood in such a way. And my basic thesis is yes, he is right. The only problem is to understand him in the right way. And then of course the rest of the paper is dedicated to a question: what does it mean to understand this claim that we cannot understand philosophically an artwork in the same way we understand other things? So what's the right way of understanding this claim? And I make basically two steps. I mean, to summarize the paper, the first step is that I draw a certain kind of phenomenological evidence for this thesis from Valéry. And the point here is that Valéry, of course, at first could be read as saying the opposite. I mean, as stating the claim that we have to analyze the poetic capacities and modes of production by which we produce an artwork. And if we have done so, we will have understood what an artwork is and how it is possible, what its reality is. And then I trace, I mean, I look for traces in a certain sense in a speech, in a talk by Valéry, for counter-evidence. So where he tries to establish the discord, one could say, even the opposition or the tension between our perspective on the process of making a work and of our perspective on the work itself. So that one could say, in the end, there is no match between the analysis of processes of making and of taking something as an artwork separate from the making. Which means, and that's the paradox I try to state there, that there's a tension, or in a certain sense a paradox in the concept of the artwork. On the one hand, an artwork is something that is made, that's the definition of an artwork. On the other hand, to see an artwork as the outcome of making is impossible, because there is no process of making that will lead it to the definite artwork. And then the second step in the paper I try to make is with Nietzsche, because there I ask the question, why is this not a failure, not something tragic, something negative? Why is this not the end of theory? But why entails or implies this a positive account of what an artwork is? So where I try to say that the paradox that the possibility of an artwork lies in its impossibility can be explained in a positive way by understanding impossibility better. And there I use, or try to reconstruct Nietzsche's theory of the Dionysian in such a way that the Dionysian is a form of activity, or refers to a form of activity in the subject which does not have the form of the performance of a practical ability. So which in that sense is the exercise of an inability, or an inability, I don't know what the best English word here is. So that we could say, we need the resources of inability, of the expression of forces, as I say in the paper and in different publications, in order to be able to produce an artwork. So the artwork has, in that sense, a double source, one could say. It has, on the one side, the source. Its source is the realization, the actualization of the practical ability, a technical ability. The artist has to know a lot, has to have learned a lot. On the other hand, it's the exercise of the ability to become unable to open itself up. The art is opening itself up to the exercise of forces which are inabilities. And then the question is, what is the right interplay between these two dimensions? And that was part of the discussion then also.